I want to talk about a mistake I made, or more accurately, a mistake I very nearly made. For context, this was about 10 years ago. I had been asked to speak at a conference, and it was my very first time in America. And so even though I lived in a city with 5 million people in it, I think the best analogy for this is to think of me as the country kid goes to the big city, because in a lot of ways it really was. And so I was obviously nervous, I was obviously excited. It was an opportunity for me to meet the people that I idolized. So I very much was starry-eyed, probably feeling maybe a little bit arrogance in myself because I'd been asked to speak there. It was the evening of the first day, and there was like a party. It was basically a networking event, but networking event pretty much equals party. So there were a crowd of people talking with each other, and that included a whole bunch of people that I wanted to talk to. These were people that I, in a lot of ways, I simply just wanted to meet, say hello to, say that I really, really enjoyed their work. I wanted to do the fairly normal fanboy thing of, oh wow, you're X, I really love your work, it's wonderful to meet you. And during the course of that networking evening, a young gentleman approached me, and he was looking quite awkward and shy and unsure of himself, but he wanted to speak to me. And he basically explained awkwardly that he'd watched some of the videos that I'd done, and he wanted to thank me because I had helped him and I'd even inspired him to do certain things. And, he wanted the opportunity to sort of ask me some questions about this particular piece of software to help him on his way. And I almost immediately shot him down, made some sort of excuse and walked away. In my mind, I had important things to do. I had important people to talk to. I didn't have time for whoever this person was. And I went off on my way to try and actually talk to some other people. But for whatever reason, at some point within the next 5 minutes, I was speaking to somebody who I really wanted to be speaking to. This was somebody who was really important to me to be speaking to. It was somebody that I cared about, and I wanted to speak to this person. I needed to speak to this person. But I looked up and I looked across and I saw the young gentleman, and he was standing there in the center of a crowd by himself, and he was looking miserable. He was just shuffling his feet, looking at the ground, and he was looking miserable. And it's probably one of the most important 5 seconds of my life that I had this realization. I realized a lot of things all at the same time. I realized that he was me. All he wanted to do was have a chance to talk to somebody at this conference that he looked up to, that he admired, that was important to him. And that person had basically immediately shot him down, walked off, and basically been a jerk to him. Now the thing is that all the people that I'd wanted to talk to had been open and welcoming and friendly and wonderful, and I had been an asshole. And so the person who I was speaking to, who was somebody who I really wanted to speak to, I excused myself. I said, look, I'm really sorry. I'll get back to you later on. I actually need to do something else. Forgive me. And I ended the conversation with the person that I really wanted to be speaking to and went back across to this young man, and I apologized. And I explained to him, I said, man, I am really, really sorry. You have to forgive me. This is my first time to America. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I've done my talk today, so I'm on a bit of a high from that. I'm surrounded by all these people who are really important to me and who I really want to speak to, but that's no excuse. Bring your laptop tomorrow, come and find me during the break, and we'll sit down and we'll have a look at your project and we'll talk about it, and I'll see what I can do to help you, and I'll give you a good chunk of my time. The look on his face was more than what I ever deserved, because it was like I just told him that yes, Santa Claus does actually exist, and here's all the Christmas presents that you'd always wanted. I didn't deserve that look because I had been a jerk, but I was going to earn that look the next day when I spoke to him. And in some ways, I kind of look at that as my salvation, because this is an opportunity for me to behave the way that I should always in the future behave in the game industry. I was surrounded by people who were really, really nice and open and welcoming, and I almost screwed that up. This was somebody who actually wanted to talk to me. This is the first test of that, and I almost blew it, and I'm really, really thankful that I didn't. And what's really, really interesting is that the person who I was talking to when I noticed that I'd nearly screwed up, I don't even remember who it was. I certainly don't remember their name because I don't remember who it was. But I remember that young man's name. His name was Tim. And Tim was a wonderful person. And I'm hoping that Tim is still doing really interesting and wonderful things in the industry. If somebody comes up to you and wants to talk to you or wants to ask you a question, it's because they've decided that you're important enough to them to do that. You matter to them. And it doesn't matter whether you're day one in the industry or 50 years in the industry and you've got millions of fans. That person has taken a courageous enough move. In fact, if you've been in the industry for 50 years, it matters even more because you are so important and so experienced and so noteworthy that that person's probably terrified of you. Please give them the time. Even if it's only a couple of minutes. I mean, we see these reaction videos all the time. I mean, I watched one yesterday. It was of a young girl, literally a young girl, who was getting an autograph from her favorite basketball player. Really huge African-American guy, really powerful, very, very famous, and he was doing autographs. And she really, really, you could see she was terrified. She wanted to give him a folder of drawings that she'd done of him. And he immediately stood up from behind the desk, came round and gave her a giant hug. And she was in tears. She was so happy. And then he opened up the folder and took a look at the photos and was like, the pictures. And it's like, did you do all of these? These are really great. I'll keep these. And literally, she was in tears. She was so happy. It took this guy 30 seconds out of his life to basically change the life of another human being. Now, I'm sure, like, with somebody like that, he's got millions and millions of people like that. And so, yes, it's probably hard for him to react like that to every single person who would like to say hello to him. And I do appreciate that. But for most of us, we don't have millions of fans. For most of us in the creative industry, we're lucky if we've got any fans. And so we really, really should acknowledge anybody that wants just a few moments of our time. They want to talk to us. They want to share what it is that they do and what we do. And that's really amazing. So, yeah. I was very, very lucky that my guardian angel, or whatever you want to call it, basically pulled me up at that point where I was about to make a really bad mistake. And I avoided that. And I thank Tim for giving me that opportunity that I almost screwed up. And as I said, I wish all the best to Tim. And I hope that he's having an amazing career. Thank you very much for listening.